What up? It's Dramos, and welcome to episode 1 of the recap. So just a quick little rundown of what it is that we do here. So if you've been following us on socials, you've seen that our girl B started a daily IG live talk show called LATV Mornings. And each day she'll break down some of the biggest headlines. So what I'll do here now every week is kind of dive deeper into some of the stories that she brought up. I'll also bring on a different special guest every week, and we'll get their perspective on everything. This week, I'm very excited. We've actually got singer-songwriter Lao Ra joining us in just a little bit. But before she hops on, I did want to dive into a couple stories that I personally found to be super interesting. The first of which was this whole headline about Joe Rogan wanting to host a presidential debate. And it's easy to kind of laugh this off at first. I think you're just kind of like, what does this podcaster know about hosting a presidential debate? But when you really think about it, it's super interesting. And to be honest, it's probably one of the better ideas that's come of all this. So Joe kind of laid out a few parameters that I thought were amazing. He wants the debate, if it happens, to be live streamed. So there can't be any editing, no removal of, comments that somebody might not have liked. We're all seeing it there in real time. And he also doesn't want anybody else to be in the room while this is happening. So nobody kind of running in there and being able to save one of these candidates from stepping on themselves or misspeaking, whatever the case may be. And if you really do think about it, I think the problem with media and why politics has been something that so many people never either want to discuss or have an interest in, even though it's something that affects all of us greatly, it's the way it's presented. If you just look at the media, it's very highbrow, especially political media. And it's not necessarily meant for people like myself or maybe people like you. So Joe Rogan doing this really meets people where they are. And the reality is somebody can laugh it off and say, what does Joe Rogan, know about politics, or what credibility does he have? The reality is politics is for all of us because we are all affected by it. So having somebody who's probably going to ask the same questions that you or I would have, I think is an amazing thing. And I also have to give a shout out to The View. Whoopi Goldberg was on there with Meghan McCain. They were both kind of talking about how amazing this was. And, they even gave a shout out to my other show, The Breakfast Club. So of course I had to bring that up, talking about just the media and how Charlemagne has asked some of the best questions we've seen asked to a political candidate. And it really does say a lot about our current, political media and their ability to kind of get to the questions that the rest of us actually give a damn about. Now, talking about all of this, Biden obviously is the guy running for president as a Democrat, and he's struggled when it's come to Hispanic voters, specifically in Florida. So he's been doing all kinds of little tactics and some interesting memeable moments that we'll get into a little bit. But one thing I did want to touch on was he laid out a plan for Puerto Rico, which is something that we all know is needed and has been needed for a very long period of time. He talks about, working with both sides on the island to find a way that the people can finally vote for if they want statehood or independence. And even before that, he talks about wanting to infuse money and help into the island to help them actually really recover from Hurricane Maria and help expedite that whole process. And even talks about wanting to forgive some of the debt that the island, is in right now, which is what is hurting a lot of their economy. So all really important things to listen to. Obviously, it's dream selling season right now. People are running for office, but to hear somebody specifically speaking on these needs and these issues that have been ignored for far too long in our community, I think is an amazing thing. Now, obviously, Biden has had some sort of cringeworthy moments. This week, he had one of those moments that has definitely become a meme out there. But to help me break that down, as well as a couple other stories that we've had pertaining to the music industry, there's been a lot of music-related stories. I wanted to bring on a special guest. So today's guest is going to be singer-songwriter from Colombia. Her latest single, Suenatas, is out everywhere right now. Lao Ra, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm good. 7 p.m. Madrid time. So yes. I'm ready to have a drink, basically.
And it's earlier over here in New York. I mean, we were talking about it a little bit, before we started recording, but how has things been in Madrid? Why did you kind of choose being over there throughout this whole thing?
Well, I got here 3 weeks before this whole pandemic started. Mm-hmm. So my niece was being born. So I was like, I'm going to go here. I'm going to work a little bit, going to be with my brother. And then this whole thing started. And I was like, well, I have to stay here.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, it's a good place to be. It's kind of the same everywhere right now in the world, right. Like we're all living this together. So it kind of sucks, but I can't complain. It's Madrid. It's great food, great weather. I have my brother, so it's all good.
Oh, nice. Yeah, at least you're with family, which is good. Obviously, things over here in the States are still pretty crazy. So I was talking earlier about some of the political stuff, and we don't need to get political, but I did want to get your take because Joe Biden, who's running for president over here, he was speaking at a Hispanic Heritage Month event. And he decided that his song he was going to basically start the event with and come out to was Despacito by Luis Fonsi and Justin Bieber. So, I mean, as a Hispanic, I felt like, all right, if this is what he's doing, there's so many better classic songs he probably could have gone with, right?
I know. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. And you're like, man, if you're really trying to get the Hispanic votes, go deeper into the culture.
Yes.
Don't play Despacito with like Justin Bieber. Sorry, can I swear? I always swear.
You're good, yeah.
I'm like, oh, damn. So I'm like, oh, man, it's so obvious. And the way he did it, like I saw it and it was like a bit awkward. And I was like, I kind of a cringe. I was like, oh, I don't want to see it.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those like super cringeworthy moments. So I'm curious if you could have chosen the song, like what would have been your song that you think would have been a great representation?
Oh, wow. That's for all Latin America. I will have to say, I would have chose something like reggaeton because it kind of goes, it's all Latin America. You know, if it's Colombia, I would be like, let's choose some cumbia. But I think reggaeton makes more sense, especially in the modern times. Yeah. I will say like something like from Tego Calderon, you know,
like it,
like some old school reggaeton, Puerto Rican. I would have gone for that, or Residente, which is like super political, and even Atrévete. Like that song would have been like really sick to play.
Honestly, if he came out like Gasolina, even I would have been hyped. Like I would have been hyped to see him walk out to Gasolina.
Gasolina,
right? Like, that would have been like easy. We would have been excited.
Like Queen, exactly, or like Ivy Queen, who have been amazing. But yeah, he chose like, I mean, let's be honest, maybe that's the only song he knows.
Probably. That's probably the case. I mean, honestly though, and a lot of Latinos hate on this song because it's probably like they feel it's old, but even like Suavemente, let's be honest, like at a family function, Suavemente comes on, Elvis Crespo, everybody goes crazy. We gotta be real about it.
Oh my God, it's true. And you know what? We make fun of these songs because they became so big, sort of like almost larger than life, and then you start like hating them. The truth is that Despacito, there is a before and after Despacito for Latin music in the world. So we kind of need to remember that shit and thank Despacito and people who wrote that, and including Daddy Yankee, because to be honest, his verse is the very best part of the song.
Absolutely.
So it's like, you know, it's a great song. So okay, let's give some love to Despacito because they deserve it. They open a lot of doors.
Yes.
And we have to accept that.
That's true. That is very true. I think we can't allow ourselves to get too caught up on it. But yeah, I think what you said first was the better answer of it. It was just so obvious. Like he could have dug just a little bit deeper, you know.
More digging, you know?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
A little bit.
Absolutely. No. So somebody else who's apparently running for president out here too, Kanye West.
You know, is he still running? Because everyone says something different every day.
Yeah, honestly, I'm here in America and I have no idea if he's still running. So it's like nobody really knows what's going on. He's like, he's still running. He's not running. He's being sued. He's being taken. We don't know what the hell is going on with Kanye, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It all feels like it might be for show.
It seems like, I mean, that's what I think. But also, you know what we have to remember is that Kanye, he has said publicly that he has bipolar disorder, which means that when he's in that maniac state, he cannot really control. Like I have friends who are bipolar, and the way they describe it to me when they're maniac is like they literally feel they can fly. Yeah. So when he is in that sort of like, I'm running for president, I can do this, and I'm like, man, are you taking your meds?
Right.
Because also they stop taking the meds because they feel so good. They think they don't need them. So with him, I always take it with a hint of salt. You know what I mean? I'm always like, because I love him as an artist so much. Like I have so much respect for him. But his personality in the media is just like such a joke.
Yeah.
But I think it has to do with his head, honestly.
Absolutely. I would agree. I think, we do have to kind of, handle him with kid gloves a little bit because we know he's dealing with something mentally. But I am curious also your take. I mean, obviously somebody in the music industry, he's been on like this whole rant lately as well about, the music industry taking advantage of artists and all these different things. Then he was even took a video of himself pissing on a Grammy award that he won. So I am curious, your experience with the music industry. I mean, how do you kind of feel with somebody saying that, like that artists are always being taken advantage of and there's no opportunities for artists to kind of not be taken advantage of?
He's right. Completely right. I'm not going to coach it. It's just the way it is. The music industry is a very evil place. And I'm not coming from a place from like, oh, I'm a victim, please help me. Because that's definitely not the message I want to, that's not my message. But it is true that I don't understand why he pissed on the Grammy though, because for me, the Academy is something.
Right.
And I don't necessarily see them as, oh, I blame the Academy because of the major labels are being like assholes.
Yeah.
No, I think the major labels are the problem.
Right.
And it's really hard to be an artist, to sign to a major label. They promise you all of this, all of that. Then you put a song out that it doesn't blow up. And then they put you on the shelf and they don't give a fuck about you. They don't respond emails. They don't care about they treat you like you're nothing. And then you're locked in deals for years and years, and they ruin your careers. And man, it's hard because I have so many friends. And even myself, I'm in a bit of a weird situation right now, but it's like I have so many friends, incredibly talented, who their careers have been ruined because they signed a wrong record deal, and the record deal couldn't give a fuck.
Right.
Yeah. Fuck me.
I mean, it is tough, and I think it makes it tough because on one hand, it is what you signed, right? At the end of the day, you did sign it. But B, you also have this very powerful machine that has the greatest lawyers in the world, right? The greatest powers. And they also have all the leverage. As an artist, I mean, I've been broke myself. I'm sure you have at some point in your life. The struggle is real to do these things. And when the contract gets presented to you, it's easy for somebody from the outside to kind of say like, oh, it's a bad deal, walk away. But when you are desperate, you need money, you're finally just hoping that this is going to be the breakthrough you've been hoping for. It's tough to say no to those deals.
It's very hard because, yeah, exactly. As you said, it's like you're working like in different jobs. Like who knows what the situation is. And you get given this money and they said, you can do music now. You can be a professional musician. You're being signed. In your head, you're like, oh my God, I made it. You get so excited. You jump into these deals because you literally need the money.
Right.
And you don't stop to think like, okay, how is this going to turn in the long run? What if it doesn't go right? What if they drop it? What if nobody wants to sign me after? So it's a thing that I feel like a lot of new artists fall into. It's a trap. Guys, run. It's a trap. If I can like literally give it someone advice right now, I would say don't sign to a major label. Don't do it. Stay for as long as you can independent, like for ages and ages and ages until you have the leverage. When you have the leverage to go into a label like with like this is what I want, done. Oh, you don't want to give me that? Then bye. Don't sign deals that have options of 5 albums in the future, because then you're locked for the rest of your life. Man, it's complicated and it's not fair. It's not fair because they leave out of our talent.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I have like such a big problem with like how the major label system works.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great advice right there. I mean, it's definitely leverage is what you said. That's what we all need in this world. In business, that's everything is leverage, right? So it's either one of two things. Either you're going to allow yourself to be patient enough to build that leverage and understand it's not going to come overnight, or then you also just can't complain if you also said to yourself, you know what, I want to be impatient and sign this deal, But I think that is probably some of the best advice that I've heard. And I think I wish Kanye would say it in that way. But I think, yeah, definitely. Building your leverage and making it so that you have something to bargain with them. Because if not, they're going to take advantage of you. That's just the way it is.
They're going to take advantage of you. And if you don't have instant success, which is what they are looking for, never forget that. They're not looking to develop you.
Yeah.
They're looking for instant success. So it's very tempting to be like, oh my God, now I was nothing. Now I'm this. I'm getting all this attention. I have a team around me. It's a lot for someone. And you're so excited that this is happening to you. But then you start realizing, oh, maybe they're expecting to make all this money, but I'm more indie, I'm more alternative, I'm more artist. My artistry is different. They start feeling uncomfortable, and they're like, okay, next, like you're a number, I really hate major labels. I really do. And like honestly,
I mean, for good reason. But I like that you're recognizing the business side of it, and it's good that every artist understands that it is a business, and you have to educate yourself as well, which is great. It sounds like that's what you've learned from this whole thing. So I mean, I think Kanye, unfortunately, he has great points, just doesn't present them in the best way. You know what I mean? Like I think, and obviously maybe that is a part of the condition we talked about earlier, but yeah, I think he does have a great point. I think the way you said it and in this conversation is exactly what the point is that he's trying to make, just a lot clearer.
But do you think, just like to be the devil's advocate, right?
Yes.
Because obviously his points, when he comes, like the way he comes across is very aggressive for a lot of people.
Yes.
Do you think people will pay attention if he wouldn't do that? I don't think so. People like seeing someone peeing on a Grammy. Otherwise, it's just another idiot tweeting the record label sucks.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's really easy to blame him, but I think the reason. Okay, I'm like such a Kanye fan, right?
I like this because I was a huge Kanye fan. You're kind of bringing me back, so keep going.
No, but it's like, if he doesn't make those big statements, people won't pay attention.
Right.
Because people are distracted. There's so much shit in the world right now. So much information in the media, coronavirus, this and that, Black Lives Matter, elections. And now he needs to do something that he knows people are going to be like,
right.
Oh, sorry, my phone.
So, yeah.
So I think it's weird that it was the Grammy, which is the Academy.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I don't know that much. Personally, I don't know that much the role of the Academy in the music industry. I'm a bit ignorant in that way. So he might probably have some insight that I don't have.
I mean, I don't know personally what he has against the Grammys. I think to me it was more of a statement about just the whole music industry as a whole, probably. Yeah. But I think you are right. That is a great point. That him making the noise has us having this conversation. You know what I mean? Like we probably wouldn't be having this otherwise if he hadn't been pissing on his Grammy Award. Which is,
he would just have tweeted the music industry sucks. No one would have been talking about it.
No, absolutely. I mean, so staying in the music industry, another big headline from this last week was Cardi B announcing she's divorcing Offset. So, I mean, obviously you are somebody working in the music industry. I'm sure you've had your fair share of just relationships. It's tough to have a real relationship in this industry. I'm just curious about your perspective when it comes to dating and being somebody out there out front like that.
I mean, you know what? I've always had relationships with people in the industry just because, I don't know, it just kind of happened. I spent my whole time in studios and in parties with these people. And it's like, so it's natural that you kind of like gravitate towards
That's
them.
who you're around the most.
Yeah, exactly. So it is kind of funny because it comes with its perks. For example, one thing that is really weird, and this is anyone who dates a writer or a singer needs to know this. We're going to write songs about you.
Right.
And that can be weird. And that could be hurtful. So I had a boyfriend once, and we didn't have like a really good relationship. And he was a writer, like an artist as well. And he wrote a song so hurtful about me. And he played it like in a party in front of everyone.
Oh.
And everyone was like, change it. What do we do? And the song was actually pretty good. But the words were horrible. And it was like, we kind of broke up 1 month after that. But you need to understand songs are like an exaggeration of real life. Right. So it's not as bad, which make it more dramatic.
Right. So what was the song the breaking point though? Like, or you probably would have broken up otherwise?
No, I think the song was like definitely like that. Maybe he did it on purpose.
Wow.
We're still friends though, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But man, yeah. So that is kind of difficult, but also it has a good part that I find it difficult when I don't date someone in the industry is that they don't understand the schedules.
Yes.
And they might get frustrated because I'm like, call you when I'm done. Done might be at 10 p.m. or it might be at 3 a.m. And I'm busy. I'm not picking up. So for someone who has a regular job and expects some sort of more like stability in a relationship, they'll be like, fuck off. You don't care.
Right. Yeah. It's
and I'm like,
tough to understand
but I care more about my song.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like you have to prioritize, especially in this career, you have a very small window of time when you can be successful in it. You know what I mean? Like the days are counting down. You're getting older. Sounds are changing. It all moves so quickly that you have to, seize the moment as you have it and take advantage of those opportunities. And yeah, it's tough for people to understand that. I mean, but speaking specifically about some of the things in their relationship, also, obviously he had gotten caught cheating the first time when they broke up, and then they got back together. There were some rumors that was the case again this time, which I think she denied. So I'm not going to, put it out there as truth or anything, but for you personally, is cheating like a done deal? Like, can you bounce back? If you were cheated on, would you be able to somehow take that person back? Or is that like, no go, you can't take that person back after that?
I think it depends on the circumstances, how they happen, but because it's not black and white. Look, like life is gray, period. That's how it is. I can definitely forgive someone for cheating me. It's not like guys go and cheat me.
Right.
But men relationships are very complicated, and humans are very complicated. And sometimes people fuck up, and I fuck up as well. Like I've been cheated, but I've cheated as well. So I've been in the two situations where it's like, and it's not because it's not a weakness. If something happens continuously, you're like, yo, this person is not treating you with respect.
Right.
But if something happened once, and maybe you guys have to talk about it, because obviously there's something in the relationship that's not right, because one person is cheating. So I'm not very black and white with those things. I also feel open relationships are amazing theoretically, very hard to make it work.
Yes.
But also monogamy is really hard to have for a long, long time. I mean, let's all accept that.
Right. Do you not believe in like true love, marriage, one person the rest of your life kind of thing? It sounds like you might be on the fence about that.
I do believe in that. That's the thing, that I do believe in. Like, I have a bunch of friends, especially here in Spain, where everyone's like really open, that they all have like open relationships. And I'm like, man, I don't think I can do that.
Right.
So I'm very much like, I have my boyfriend, I love him, and definitely that kind of like monogamous relationship. But also I'm aware that 10 years from now, you're like, what do we do? It's getting a bit boring.
Right.
Like, we have to come up with a solution. Either with like threesomes, I don't know, or like there's a bunch of options. I'm open to all that shit. Like, when you get to that point that you're bored, because you will get bored.
You think so? You think there's no way?
I think so. I think wouldn't you? I mean, completely honest. I mean, I don't know if you have a girlfriend or wife, so be careful with what you say.
No. I'm seeing somebody, but I think that, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I think relationships are work. You know what I mean? So I think you're right. It can get boring if you're not constantly putting in that work and putting in that effort, and you have to figure out ways to make it new again, I think, right? I think that's the tough part, and it's easier said than done, right? Because once you become comfortable with somebody, it's like, you know what, maybe I'm not going to get a haircut as often. I'm not going to worry about my appearance as much, right? And you start allowing yourself to slip away a little bit. When you were single and you were dating, you really were on top of that stuff, right? Because you're trying to impress people. So I think, right. So I think those little things we have to like mentally become aware of, like, whoa, I'm allowing myself to become way too comfortable. I'm kind of losing that myself a little bit, and just kind of allowing myself to just be another thing there instead of being interesting for the person that I'm dating, you know? So I don't know. That's the way I see it. I think you're always going to have to keep putting in work. I get what you're saying.
100%.
10 years is tough.
But like, imagine 10 years or 15. And you're like, fuck, it's natural to have desire for like another body.
Right.
You know, like, so I'm like, when it gets to that point, then I don't know. I wish if I ever get to that point with someone, I think it will be great if we trust each other enough to be like, what if we do this?
Right.
You know, what if we experiment? What if sexuality is such a like range of, it's so big, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm open to experiment with shit. So
I mean, that's good though, and that's true. And I think that, I think obviously it's something you and your partner have to be on the same page about, you know, when it comes to that stuff. But I mean, I think that's probably a good mindset to go into. Obviously, it's probably not going to be for everybody, but at the same time, if you're open to you're at least open to putting in the work, you know what I mean? And I think that's what that is.
Yeah, exactly. And also, everyone needs to be really comfortable, you know, because I have a lot of friends who are like sadly, especially boys, who are like, I'm in an open relationship, and I'm like, you're not, babe. You're just cheating on yourself.
That's what you tell yourself to make yourself feel better.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, it's fine if she fucks someone else. And I'm like, is it really? Because it's not. So I'm like, boy, you're cheating yourself. Like, I mean, don't lie to yourself.
Absolutely.
That's not an open relationship.
Right, and I get what you're saying, like the idea, but you probably got to mix it up at some point. But I don't know if I'm personally secure enough because I feel like I don't know. Right?
I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't. Like my friends have it, and I'm like, nah, not for me. No, I can't. I'm too insecure.
But in 10 years, who knows?
Right.
Yeah,
I'll be like, oh my gosh, she's prettier. Oh my gosh, she's younger.
Right, right. Your head is just going to go crazy with all the questions, and once you open up that box, you can't put it back in, you know?
No, I agree. It's a complicated one, but it's one thing in like humans we haven't resolved yet.
Yes.
We don't know the answer yet.
Yeah.
Is it forever with one person? Is it open relationships? Is it getting a divorce every 10 years when you get tired?
Right.
We don't have it right.
Maybe because I think we're trying to like do this one size fits all for everybody type of thing. You know what I mean? Like we're thinking that there's one right answer. And the reality is we're all just very different and we all feel different ways. And one thing works for somebody, one thing doesn't work for somebody else. And we kind of just have to, I think, come to understanding of that.
But like, for example, with Cardi B, like they break up again because another person, he cheated again. I mean,
that's like rumors, you know what I mean? There's been rumors about that. I think she publicly said no, but who knows if she just doesn't want to relive that like embarrassment once again. But I mean, granted, they've only been married, I think 3 years or something like that. So it's not like they've been together for the 10 years that we're talking about.
That's very short. And it's very hard, isn't it? It kind of seems like it's very hard for a relationship to last, especially in that they're like so famous. There's so much money. There's so much excess.
Yes.
There's so much people looking at them at every move.
That's tough. I don't think I would ever in a million years want to have like the level of fame that they have because I just don't see how you can live life. You know what I mean? That it's just a whole crazy world. It's just not reality what they live in. You know, it's tough.
It's probably really weird.
Yeah.
Probably if you're that famous, I would just move somewhere when no one knows me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't live in LA, for example. I would live like in Europe, like in, I don't know, in Sardinia or something like that.
I mean, it's smart. I mean, listen, LA, everybody knows who you are. The amount of, temptation that you're going to find there is obviously going to be drastically different than living in like Sardinia or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's tough. Okay. So I feel like I've gotten to know you pretty well with this whole thing. I've enjoyed the conversation. So, I mean, tell me now, like, what do you have going on personally? I know you've been putting out a couple singles already this year. What do we got going on for the future? What can we expect?
Well, obviously, like this whole pandemic thing has kind of like messed up all my plans as everyone's. So I had these 3 songs, like the one that I put out with Tangana, then I had Entendido, and Penatas, which were part of this like concept EP of like a trilogy of like this whole story about this woman, and then she kills the husband, then she goes to a strip club party and she gets arrested and she gets sent to a madhouse, and then in the madhouse she realized you need to fight not with violence but with your pussy power. So that's the whole circle. And after this, I have an album ready, not ready yet completely because I have to go to Miami to finish it, and I can't. They're not letting me in the States yet.
Of course, yeah.
But the songs are there. I've been working with a bunch of producers. Like last week, I was doing like some work with Voice Noise. Like we did some sick shit together.
That's
like
amazing.
All like via email, really. And man, and I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's everything. I wish I had something more like concrete to say. There's this album that I have to finish, but I need to get myself to Miami, and until they don't open the borders. There's nothing I can do. Yeah. Which it kind of sucks. Yeah.
I can imagine it's frustrating because, for me, obviously I can do stuff like this and I'm still doing the same shit I would have been doing prior to, right? I can interview people and create content, but for you want to release music and you want to do it in a way that, is conducive to people checking it out, and you want to perform and you want to be able to travel and hit the studio and do all these different things. It's tough. I can imagine the frustration that you've had probably this year sitting around wanting to do so much.
It is very frustrating, especially like I'm a very like collaborative. Fuck, I can't say that word in English.
Collaborative.
Collaborative. I can't. Okay, whatever.
You're good.
Say it again.
Collaborative.
Say it.
Collaborative. Nice. You got it.
For me, like working in my room on my own, it's boring. It's boring. Right. I want to be in the studio. I want to vibe with people. I get to feel like my energy, like I'm an extrovert, like completely an extrovert. So I need the people around me to give me energy. So it's been a pain in the ass. I'm not going to lie. Also, I want to shoot music videos.
Right.
And I feel everyone is in the same boat. Like there's a bunch of music sitting there for everyone. Mm-hmm. And everyone's a bit like, should we put the album out? No, not yet. Let's wait a little bit. But then you wait 3 months and you're like, oh, we're still in the same situation. Should we do it now? Oh, no, let's wait. Right. It's like horrible. So it has been very frustrating. And then definitely, as soon as I can get to the States, I'm going to finish this album and I'm going to put it out. And I want to do like some sick music videos. And I want to have some like sick collabs. I have like so many ideas or like shit I want to do. Yeah. But it's not possible at the moment.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, listen, I'm excited to hear more stuff. I've been a fan of yours for a minute. I know a lot of people heard you on the Dylan Francis record too, and you absolutely killed that. So I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, obviously keep your spirits up. You're absolutely crushing it. So I'm excited to see the future.
I thank you. It's hard, but yeah, man, we have to do that. We have to like keep positive, keep working, and yeah, it will be slow though. What's the vibe in America? Like, do you guys think it's going to be normal in 2021 or not really?
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of, I think one of the scientists was kind of saying maybe summertime 2021 will be back to normal completely for the most part, or fall of 2021. And then, I mean, we've kind of been, little by little, it's like open a little bit. So you can go into spaces as long as it's like less amount of people and things like that.
Yeah.
I know, some of the artists over here have been, I've seen them in the studio and doing things like that, but it's still kind of a little bit scary. I think people are still a little bit wary of doing that.
Yeah, it's very limited. You're like, should we go to the studio? But you don't know who's like, okay, we're going to the studio. And so, sessions are a bit like strange. Same here.
Yeah.
I don't think labels or publishers want to take the risk to put artists together in the studio. So they're a bit more like, if you want to do it, you do it.
Right.
But we're not going to get involved in this situation, which is kind of fair. Do you think they're going to be festivals next year?
I mean, I hope so. I hope by maybe that midpoint at summer of next year or the fall of next year, they can start getting back to it. Because it seems like what they're saying is that everybody will be able to get the vaccine by that point. And once that happens, we'll be able to be open as normal and do that whole thing, So fingers crossed,
What a year.
I know. I mean, it's tough unless you're like Lady Gaga or Ariana Grande or Justin Bieber. It's pretty easy. You throw a song out there and you're doing your thing. You don't really have to do much promotion behind it or any of those things. But yeah, I mean, for a lot of artists, I know it's tough.
Man, but it is true. Even I feel like for like big artists, like really big artists, it's like, okay, they're not like, oh my God, I don't have money right now. What am I going to do? Okay, they're not in that situation, but they have to pay a lot of shit. They have like tours canceled. They have to pay the choreographers, the dancers, and if they don't pay them, what are these people going to do? So I think it affects everyone from like the bigger artists to that little one who's just starting and had this tiny gig and then he lost it.
Yeah, so that's a great point.
And I feel like for artists creatively, we are all affected equally. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. I feel most people feel a bit like non-creative.
No, of course. I mean, it's hard to get inspiration when you're not around people. You're not around your regular routine.
Situations.
Exactly. You're not out traveling. You're not out seeing people. You're not getting, inspired by like seeing an artist do something or being in the club or whatever the case may be, So it's tough to like
even having drinks with people, whatever, like a conversation with a friend, and then you're like next day you're like, oh, that guy said something cool. I'm going to write it down.
Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely tough. I mean, I can imagine writing is tough, and it's even, it's tough to be inspired in general, but yeah, I mean, we just we got to stay positive. Like that's all we can do.
No, it's true. No. We're complaining too much. No, but we gotta say, you know how it is. It's ups and downs. Some weeks you're like, "Ooh, I kind of have this," and then the other week you're like,
"Right."
Coronavirus, I hate you.
It's tough, but I mean, listen, it's a blessing that we at least have the technology to be able to do things like this. You know what I mean? Like the fact that I'm here in New York and you're in Madrid right now is crazy. That we can have this conversation and that you can be working with like Boys Noise, like you were saying, and working on files, electronically, basically. you know, we're blessed in
Yeah,
that sense.
exactly. That's kind of dope. And then, so I was like, so they sent me these files, and then I was like, oh, I want to write this with my friend Karen, who's in LA, and I have this Zoom like session with her. For her, it's like 9 a.m. For me, it's like 6 p.m.
Right.
And we managed to do it, and we wrote like two great songs, and I'm like, fuck, we can do it.
Yeah.
And then I record the vocals in my room, and I send to the boys, and I'm like, guys, do you think these recordings are okay? And they're like, oh yeah, we love it. And I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
It's doable. It's doable to do it right, you know, like to do it to a high level of quality.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world either. You can make it happen if you want to do it bad enough.
Yeah, I miss gigs though. That's what I miss. I can't wait to go on the stage. I can't wait.
Well, listen, I'm excited when you're able to come back to the States and everything opens up. I definitely got to come check you out in person, and we'll do this in person as well.
Perfect. I would love that.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you. And
have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Okay.
You too.
Ciao, ciao. Adios.
Big thank you once again to my guest this week, Laura. Make sure you go check out her music. She's just absolutely incredible. You can find it everywhere that you stream music. And before I want to get out of here, I did want to make a big shout out. Obviously, it is Hispanic Heritage Month, so I wanted to make sure that I use this time to recognize a hero from our community. So this week, I wanted to recognize Roberto Clemente, who just would have celebrated his 86th birthday last month. Obviously, we all know him as this incredible baseball player, 18 seasons in the major leagues for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's also the first Latin American and Caribbean player to be enshrined in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. But beyond baseball, he was a humanitarian, even, you know, till his dying day, which of course came as a result of being a humanitarian. So Roberto Clemente died in a tragic plane crash while he was on his way to deliver aid to the people of Nicaragua who were going through an earthquake. So I just wanted to make sure we recognize and take the time to salute these incredible figures in our community, not just this month, but all the time. And just thank them so much for paving the way for the rest of us. And with that said, thank you guys so much for tuning into the first ever episode of The Recap. Make sure you also tune into the daily IG Live TV show that our girl B does every Monday through Thursday. LATV mornings should be hooking you up with the latest daily news. And of course, every Saturday, I'll be breaking it all down for you right here. Thank you once again so much. Talk to you next time.